Des Moines and all of Central Iowa, welcome to Max World Live. Max World is your world. Every day we talk about the issues and topics that matter most to you. And as always, it's your voice we want to hear in Max World. So join the conversation by calling 515-244-0077. And now, here's the host of Max World Live, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, good afternoon. 6 minutes after the hour, 4 o'clock on the 19th day of November. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and welcome to Max World Live, a program heard every day, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 in the afternoon, live here from our studios, high atop the Merle Hay Mall Tower, overlooking the plains of Iowa. Don't know if you know this, but the two highest topographical points in the state of Iowa are in Dubuque. The third highest is actually Merle Hay Mall. And, of course, we are another, 6 to 12, 70. We're another 75 feet above the ground, which makes us one of the highest points in all of Iowa. And what's interesting is the only other building in record that ever sat on this piece of ground, you remember what that was, Frank?
Yes, I heard you say it was, a monastery? Or
Yeah, it was a nunnery. And it was a home for unwed mothers. And they brought babies here and took care of them and then adopted them out. It was a Catholic organization. And then the family that owns the mall from Chicago bought this land in the early 50s and built what was, the time, one of the largest malls in the country, one of the largest indoor malls in the country. So we're glad to be here, and that's where we're at today. Today's going to be a great show. First, I want to introduce you to Mary Merritt. Mary is the Iowa Right to Life End of Life Director.
Yes.
And you are also a board member in Human Life Alliance.
That's correct.
We're going to find out about both those organizations. I also want to introduce you via phone, via the Twin Cities, Joe Talk. Is that right? Talk? Toke.
Thank you.
All right. And Joe is the national director for the Human Life Alliance. And Joe and Mary, we're glad to have you both here.
Thank
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
You bet. All right. Now, you're going to have to, and I told Mary this already. Joe, I don't know if I've told you this. We haven't talked. We talked on the phone the other day. But you guys are going to have to talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old. Because I'm a low information voter when it comes to end of life. Because I'm under the assumption that I've got Social Security, I've got Medicaid, I've got Medicare, that I have all the documents necessary through my attorneys and the legal situations. I've got these wonderful hospitals that tell me all the time they're the best hospitals in the world, Mercy, Methodist, Lutheran, Mayo, wherever I go. But yet, as I found out earlier this year when my mother-in-law was dying, I'm not covered. In fact, nobody's got my back. Maybe not even my own kids can have my back. Mary, explain that to us.
Well, that's a good starting point with that. And that's where we talk about the forms that you need or you don't need that are being asked to you, such as many of you have been to a doctor's office and they've asked you if you have a living will. And if you're like us, you wonder, should I have that or shouldn't I?
Well, we're told we should, right?
That's right. And if you don't have one and you would like one, they definitely have one for you to fill out. But it's a federal law in 1990 called the Self-Determination Act, and the doctor's offices that receive Medicare and Medicaid, if they do not offer this, it would affect their funding. And the reason why is a living will is known as a license to kill. If many of you remember Terry Schiavo, and that's what a living will do. It considers food and water as medical treatment, not as basic care. And that's the first step.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yes.
Food and water is medical equipment or medical treatment.
Treatment, that's right. Yes.
And this was passed in 1990.
Right.
So that was Reagan, wasn't it? No, who was 1990? Was that Papa Bush?
Yeah, Bush would have been up until 92.
Joe, you just chime in anytime you want, please.
Well, one thing I would like to say to you, just in follow up to your comment, is that it's our goal to watch your back.
Mm-hmm.
It's our goal to be there for you.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. Yes, there is somebody here to watch our back. So a living will. Tell me what a living will is, Joe.
Well, a living will is far too broad. In other words, let's say, just for instance, you go in the hospital and you've broken your leg. Hopefully not, but you've broken your leg for the sake of argument here. Later, you go in the hospital and you have a heart attack. You don't want the same treatment, obviously, for a broken leg as you do with a heart attack. A living will requires you to try to guess everything that could possibly happen to you in the future and prepare for it. And we can't do that. None of us can do that. An advance directive, which is what we recommend, recommend an advance directive or a protective medical decisions document, it's sometimes called. With that, the most important thing we tell people that you can do is you have your advance directive, number one. The most important part of your advance directive is your healthcare agent, who you name as your healthcare agent. That person you have made aware of what you want done, everything that, not back up, what you want done regardless of the situation. And it says in there specifically, no one, not even your healthcare agent, can do anything to hasten your death. That food and water are ordinary care. They are not extraordinary care. They are ordinary care. They are not medical care. Because you take Pepto-Bismol orally, that does not make it food.
Say that again. You take Pepto-Bismol
orally. That doesn't mean it's food.
That doesn't mean it's food.
Right.
Orally.
And if you are given food and water, that doesn't mean it's medicine. It's food and water, hydration and nutrition, ordinary care that we all need. It's not medical care. If today I'm very healthy, thank God, but if you took food and water away from me for 13 days, as they did with Terry Schiavo, who was not dying of anything, chances are I'm not going to be with you in 13 days. I need it simply to live.
Joe, just help me understand. I'm not the brightest bulb in the bunch. How did our elected officials ever vote anything that said food and water were considered medical treatments?
They're ill-informed. That would be the kindest thing I could say. They're ill-informed.
Frank?
Well, let me ask you, Mary and Joe, do you think that medical technology has advanced way past our ability to morally discern some of these issues? Let me give you a practical example. Let's say military, and I've thought about being in the military in my career. What if I, as a military man, was in the military and I got to the point where I was going to be quadriplegic, let's say, blind, and a doctor in the 60s actually saved somebody. Our technology, our medical technology has advanced to the point where we can save people that used to die on the battlefield. I don't know that necessarily means we should save them. What if I, as a soldier, said, hey, look, I said to my buddies, look, if I'm in a certain position, just make sure I don't go home. Quality of life over quantity. If I make my wishes known to somebody that I don't want to live, if I'm burned beyond recognition, if I'm a quadriplegic, if I'm blind, if I have my testicles shot off, whatever, I don't want to live at some point. Do I have the right to do that, or is somebody going to trump my ability to make that decision?
Mary, do you want me to answer that, or do you?
Oh, you go ahead and start, and I'll just add on to it.
All right. I would refer you and your listeners to a gentleman by the name of Mark Pickup, Pickup. He lives in Canada, and I think his testimony is an excellent answer to your question here. He was diagnosed with MS several years ago, and it was devastating for him. It has progressed. He is in a wheelchair, and he said that, and will tell you, he's a wonderful man, will tell you that if assisted suicide had been legal at the time, he would have opted for it, for that, for euthanasia. What he will tell you is that what his expectations for life were at that time have changed through the years. And even though he is confined to a wheelchair, he will tell you in great detail the joys of his life. So for us to say, I would never want to live that way, essentially is kind of what you're saying. We don't know that. And our will to live is very strong. There was, and I wish I had the name in front of me, but I don't. There's a young man who put out a video, I believe it's on YouTube. He is missing all 4 limbs.
All right, I want to stop you. Joe, I'm going to stop you right there. The music is on. That means we're coming up against a hard break on the network. I want you to start again with that young man who has no arms and legs and the YouTube video. We're talking to Jo Tulick. She is the National Director for the Human Life Alliance, and Mary Merritt, Iowa Right to Life End of Life Chairman. We're coming back live here on The Truth.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi. My name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
21 minutes after 4 o'clock on the 19th day of November in the Lord's year 2015. J. Michael McCoy. Tomorrow, the whole crew. Ryan, Frank, Bob, and I. Well, that's a Frank and clear Secret Service clearance. We will be live from the Community Choice Credit Union Convention Center, otherwise known as Vets Auditorium, in downtown Des Moines as the family leader begins the Presidential Family Forum. Tickets are available at thefamilyleader.com. They're $15. That's right, you heard me. $15 for you to see most of the presidential candidates. Here's who you won't see. You won't see Trump. You won't see Jeb. And obviously, Bobby Jindal has this week suspended his campaign. Frank, do you know why they say suspend and not end?
I'm sure it involves money.
No, it means that if for some reason the things should change, they can just start their same campaign again. They're suspending it, not ending it. If they actually end it, they close the books, and then they have to refile all the papers.
But I think it still allows them to raise money so they can pay off any potential debt.
That is also true. All right, here's my guest today, Mary Merritt. She is she's with the Iowa Right to Life, and she's the End of Life Director. And on the phone is Jo Tolick, and she is the National Director of Human Life Alliance. And we are talking about living wills, which this organization, many others, including myself, now see as a license to kill. We thought we were smart when we got a living will. See, you and I are low information voters sometimes. I admit it, I am, especially when it comes to health care. I got a great doctor. He delivered all 3 of my grandkids. He's been with us for 30 years. And what Dr. Z says, I trust. But see, Marcus Welby's no longer around. And the Dr. Z's of this world are quickly retiring. And there's a new sheriff in town, as you might say. And that new sheriff is called insurance companies, who control major hospitals and major health care. The health care I depend on. I'm 56 years old. That's way too young to be thinking about this already. But what we've seen in so many cases, including my mother-in-law, who was killed by the healthcare industry. Yes, I said it. These are not the opinions of Joe or Mary or anybody else on this show. This is my opinion. The healthcare industry killed my mother-in-law because there wasn't any money. You see, they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And at some point, the hospital had invested more money than they determined a 91-year-old woman should have spent on her. The wisdom that my mother-in-law had was priceless. She lived on her own. She took care of an ailing sister, a twin sister. She had a dog. She drove. She was amazing. In fact, at one point, the doctor said she had the body of a 61-year-old. And yet, when the insurance company said no more money, they decided that was the end of her life. And we've got to make sure this doesn't happen to your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, and mainly it doesn't happen to you. All right, Joe, you started telling me about a YouTube video, and it starts out kind of like it's a joke, but it's not. There's a man with no arms and no legs.
And he actually, I mean, just to tell you the mental state of this gentleman, he does start out with a joke. He says, I bet my buddy and I had a bet. And he said, I bet if you jump on that landmine, it's going to kill you. I'll bet you $5. And he said, I'll bet you $10 it won't. And he said, the good news is I won the $10. So he starts off with a joke. He's hit by a landmine, he steps on a landmine. He loses all of his limbs. And he goes on to say that I told my wife, leave me, take everything we have, just leave me. I'm no good to you anymore, so on and so forth. Not surprising to hear from someone who's been through this trauma. He goes on then to show where he is today. He has a little girl. They have a picture of her on his lap and all of the things that he's done, and he talks about the joys in his life. His wife is there with him. And so getting back to your question of what if I decide, if I'm in the Army and I say to my buddies, if this happens to me, I don't want to live. We can't say that. We don't know. Just as Mark Pickup will tell us that his life has changed. What he considered important before isn't what he considers important now. And he is enjoying his life. He regularly sends us pictures of one of his grandsons, who's a model, the little kid, and he has great joy in his life. So we don't know how we're going to respond to something like this. To make that statement ahead of time, and that's what happened. That's what they used against Terry Schiavo, and that's what her husband used to euthanize her.
Jo Tolick is our guest. She's on the phone from Minneapolis. She's the National Director of Human Life Alliance. In studio is Mary Merritt, Iowa Right to Life, and the End of Life Director.
Yes. I'd like to add on to what Jo said, and one of the great attributes about Human Life Alliance is that they have a wide ancillary of educational materials. And if you contact them, they will deliver or ship them with a donation. And it's www.humanlife.org. And what I'm going to refer to is one of their supplements with this discussion about imposed death. And in that supplement are different situations and people's life stories. And it doesn't really tell you what you should do or shouldn't do, but after you read about the living will, after you read about a disabled person who has to have people help them get dressed every day, you know from reading that what your answer will be. And one of the guidelines, if there's ever any hesitation, it's always to err on the side of life.
I'm going to be a little PC here with this comment, so you guys will know what I'm talking about when I say it. A man with no hands cannot take care of himself in the bathroom. And I just make the point that I agree with this end of life and the beginning of life, and I'm all for life. But I just wonder if ultimately I should be able to have the say if I want my buddies to make sure I don't come home, and whatever that entails, a 45 in the head, whatever, I don't know. But if I say to my buddies, if I'm that, don't save me. Now, I mean, should I have that right as a human? Now, this isn't going against your thing, but should I have that right?
It kind of is.
Do you want to put your buddy in the position of murdering you?
Well, this would be among my closest friends. I wouldn't ask.
But you're still asking somebody to murder you.
Well, I'm just saying, make sure I don't get medical attention, get to a doctor, tourniquet me, whatever. I think that
All right, let's look beyond the soldier who's been harmed on the field, and let's talk about your mom, my dad, those of us living right now that have to worry about this.
Okay, I overheard you talking in the last show about Hitler and Nazi Germany. And so let's go back to that time and even beyond that with the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm.
Right.
And there's only been 2 times where that in the 20th century where that hasn't been happening, during the Third Reich and during our abortion time now. And with the Third Reich, and we do need to learn from history, that it started out as mercy killings for euthanasia, like people coming back from World War I who are amputated and limbs off. And then it expands, and then it goes on to different groups. So the doctor that started out in school who wants to help society and wants to help people all of a sudden has this flawed philosophy that there are some people who are not worthy of life. And then to couple that, even in Nazi Germany time, of the cost of health care. Does that sound familiar? What's going on now?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think we need to learn from history and to realize that with the Hippocratic Oath, we had do no harm.
Well, I agree. I'm willing to leave life and death in the hands of God. But my original point was, I think medical technology has surpassed our ability So what I'm saying is if Terry Schiavo's hands, if it was left to God and we didn't have all this advanced medical technology, she would have most likely died. What I'm saying is medical technology is keeping us alive far beyond what I think God, I think sometimes we're keeping people alive far in advance of what maybe even God wants them to live with our technology.
Okay. I would like to answer your question, but I'd like to make one point here because I think this is a common misconception with Terry. Terry was not on life support. Mm-hmm. She wasn't dying of anything, so I just want to make that point. But should we be able to say, yes, there is a point beyond which let me give you an example. This is actually a personal example of my own father. He had dementia with Parkinson's overlay. And at a certain point, we got a call. It reached the point where it was dangerous for him to be at home. And so we were with him every day. He was in a nursing home. We were with him every day. We got a call saying, from a nurse saying, your dad has a urinary tract infection, and he has a note. He has a note in his chart saying he's not to be treated. This does not sound like your family. It wasn't. We got it cleared up. A doctor had seen him once, didn't know it, took it upon himself to put it in there. So we said, of course, it's a simple antibiotic. Treat him. A few months later, same person, same family. Your dad has a serious situation with his platelets. They're very low. The only thing that we can do would be to transport him to a hospital because we can't do it here. It's going to be very confusing for him. It's going to be painful for him to have the transfusion, and it will only last 2 weeks. And at that point, we said no.
And
don't do that.
Obviously, you think that's what your father would have wanted.
I think it's what my father would have wanted, and I think that at that point, the treatment truly became more burdensome than the value.
But who should be able to make that decision? Certainly not the insurance company or the doctors.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
not.
And today, what we have is we have a medical health care system in place, which basically, even with I'm trying to think of the term, the right to the attorney.
Power of attorney.
Power of attorney.
Mm-hmm.
We still, as family members, cannot dictate the medical care that we want our loved ones to have. Is that true, or am I mistaken on that?
If you have an advance directive, the doctor is and you are unable to speak for yourself. If you can speak for yourself, then you speak for yourself. If you are unable to speak for yourself, you have listed in that advance directive the person who will speak for you, who is your health care agent. That is the person that the doctors are to go to that make the decisions.
Jo Tolick, National Director of Human Life Alliance out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. She's on the phone with us. In studio is Mary Merritt. She is the Iowa Right to Life End of Life Director. We're talking about your life, your mother's life, your loved one's life, the most precious person in the world's life, and how you don't have much control over it anymore. We'll come back. We'll talk about it live.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed right or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money-back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
"22 minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News. And then at 5:05, it's Hank, the Bible Answer Man. 1-888-ASK Hank. Now you're saying, Mac, it's like 20 minutes away. Yeah, but it's a national show. It's live, coast to coast. It's going to back up on calls. If you really have a question you want to ask, I would suggest that you call in now and sit on hold. I don't know what you'll listen to on hold, but it'll be there. 1-888-ASK Hank. That's here exclusively on the Truth Network. All right, we have on the phone Jo Tolick, and she is the National Director of the Human Life Alliance, and that is out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. In studio, Mary Merritt. She is the Iowa Right to Life End of Life Director, and we're talking about things that I didn't know. I had no concept. In fact, I would have argued against you that the doctors did not have my best scenario in mind if I was rushed to the hospital and the end was near. But yet they could change it. They could stop it. They could add medical service that might save me. But now there's these free will, are these living wills and these medical directives. All these things I thought I signed, my doctor said, this is what you need. And now they have a chance to kill us. We're talking about that with these fine young ladies. And Mary, you wanted to add something to Jo's conversation.
Yeah, Jo had informed so many good points, what she's been talking about with the advanced directive. And as a former special needs teacher, I'll just kind of go back to some definitions for you. An advanced directive is kind of like the umbrella. And then underneath the umbrella is a living will or a durable power of attorney for health care. And then the POLST. And a lot of people will say, well, do I have to have a living will? No, you don't have to have a living will. And but a lot of times we've heard people who don't have a living will being constantly asked while they're in a hospital, do you want to sign a living will? The second thing of an advanced directive is the durable power of attorney for healthcare, which is what Jo was talking about. And it's not the same as a durable power of attorney. This is specifically for healthcare. And there are a lot of fine ones out there, but Human Life Alliance recommends a good one that is out of Steubenville, Ohio, and it's called Patients' Rights Council. And that one is where it's not so specific, but to limit you, but it's broad enough that your agent will be able to understand what your wishes are. Do you have anything to add on that, Joe?
I think yes, and that is one of the best that we have found. That's the one that we recommend, and it's not ours, so it's not self-serving. One more thing about the living will, because you're trying to cover everything that you could possibly cover, which of course you can't. Example, woman who said, that I happen to know, who said for years, never want to be on a ventilator. Don't ever put me on a ventilator. No doubt in anyone's mind who knew her. Down the road, she wound up in the hospital, surgery on her lung. Doctor said, this is it. She's going to die. Another doctor came in and said, if this were my mother or my wife, I would try a ventilator. Family agonized over it, said, all right, go ahead and do it, even though she had said no. Put her on the ventilator. She was on the ventilator for a while, came off the ventilator, and lived another 10 years. If she had put that in writing, in a living will, the doctor couldn't have done that.
Now, wait a minute. Hold on. If she had put that in writing, couldn't her power of attorney have said that? Couldn't a doctor had said, well, if we could put her on a ventilator, that might save her? Are you telling me the doctor couldn't even recommend that?
Not in a living will.
So the doctor.
So you want to say as little as possible. Be as you don't want to be specific. You want to be specific on as few things as possible. Point being, as we said in the beginning, you don't know. You don't know what your situation is going to be a year down the road, 10 years down the road. In this case, the vent saved her life, but or helped her. What it did is it helped her body. It gave her body time to heal. And she lived another 10 years when she came off of it. But if she had expressly said in writing, I do not ever want to be on a ventilator, she's made her choice.
In addition to that, and that's a good example, and I like to use that one too, Joe, that you shared with me. When you are called to the hospital at 2 o'clock in the morning and your emotions are really riding high, and you don't know really what to do, and you have all these papers thrown at you, this is why we recommend a durable power of attorney for health care, because it takes out the guessing out. Well, in Joe's situation, this person that they knew, she had repeated it often enough that they knew. But sometimes if you don't have something like that written down, your family will say, well, I think 10 years ago we watched a TV show and this person said, I want this to happen to me, or I don't want that to happen to me. So in a durable power of attorney for healthcare, the communication part is so important. And it's just like when we take care of our house or a car, we have insurance. And with a durable power of attorney for healthcare, it's being prepared for the worst, but you're hoping for the best.
Why couldn't I just have let me tell you who these ladies are. Mary Merritt, Iowa Right to Life. She is the End of Life director. And Joe, how do I say your last name? I think I'm mispronouncing it.
It's Toke. The L is silent. Toke.
Toke. All right. Mm-hmm. One Toke over the line. Right. Joe Toke. See, I'm not square. I'm from the 60s. She is the Human Life Alliance director, and that is a national position, national chair. And these ladies are both trying to make you, me, Frank, Bob, trying to make us aware of how and if I don't get this right, correct me, because I don't want to, Joe and Mary, I don't want to put any words in your mouth, but they're trying to save our lives and save the lives of our family, because the insurance companies and the healthcare industry doesn't care anymore. There is no hypocritical, there is no oath to say we're going to do whatever it takes to save you. I mean,
cost containment.
Yeah, until my mother-in-law passed away a year ago, I would have told you that I felt very safe with today's medical care, that if something were to happen to me and I were going to the hospital, whether my wife or kids or anybody was there to be there for me, that the doctors were required by law to do whatever it takes to save me. But that's just not true, is it?
No, and before the show is over, whichever of us addresses the issue, there's a very important issue with Pulse, the physician's order for life-sustaining treatment. So, Mary, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, talk to us about that.
I would be glad to.
You have
Thanks,
1 minute.
Joe. Okay.
1 minute.
In Iowa, it's called iPost. And Iowa Physicians for scope of treatment, or it escaped me somehow. In Pulse, it's physician order of life-sustaining. Is that it?
Physician's order for life-sustaining
treatment, right? Which is, again, the wording is so misleading, like a living will. And this is known, a living will is known as a license to kill. A Pulse is known as a living will on steroids. And this takes precedence over your durable power of attorney for health care even, or your living will. And you do not have to write your answers out. They will be asking you questions and be filling this out. And it doesn't mean that you are incapacitated. It happens right after you fill this out, whether you're in good health or not.
Is this the document that the insurance company pays the doctor some $5,000 or whatever it is to get filled out by you?
Some are requiring it. There are doctors' offices who are asking you to sign it. Don't sign it. Check your chart. If it's in your chart, get it out of your chart, and check your electronic chart as well. Because if it's put in there after your directive, it will supersede your advance directive.
And this is called a POLST, Pulse?
Nationally, it's known. In Iowa, it's iPost.
Okay.
IPOST. And you can go on the web and find it. In Iowa, it's a salmon color.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back and finish up. Coming back next.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One.
10 before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News, and then Hank, the Vital Answer Man. 1-888-ASK Hank. Tomorrow, we will all be live down at Veterans Memorial. The Community Choice Credit Union Convention Center, formerly known as Vets Auditorium, for the Presidential Family Forum for the FamilyLeader.com. We'll be there from 3 to 5, giving you the what's going on inside, behind the scenes. We're going to let Frank take a little camcorder. They're not even called that anymore, are they?
Can Frank the Verse be Frank Luntz?
Sure, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I'm sure Ben Carson, Ted Cruz, and all those folks would love you up there.
Yes.
Everybody's going to be there but Jeb and Trump, as I understand it. And it's going to be kind of a roundtable conversation. It's not a debate. It's not timed. Now, you know why Trump wasn't invited. But it should be a good time. Tickets are only $15. And I said it. I didn't say 50. I said $15. And you can get them at thefamilyleader.com. All right, on the phone with me is Jo Toke. She is the National Director for the Human Life Alliance. And Mary Merritt, who is local. She is the Iowa Right to Life End of Life Director. Jo, here's my question. So, I liked what you said before. Make sure there's no living will, there's no medical directive, there's no advance directive in any of your files. Check your electronic files, check your paper files. Just make sure that's not anywhere. Why can't
you want your advance directive in there? You want your health care directive in there.
Okay.
You don't want the post in there. You don't want them to put that post in there, which they may do without your knowledge. Mm-hmm. So make sure it's not in there.
All right. Now, what if I just did this? And I'm not kidding. What if I just took a document and I made it up myself and I said, save my life no matter what? Love, Mac.
Get yourself a couple witnesses on that.
Yes.
Okay, but I do that. Let's even say I get the
Notary public.
Notarized.
Notarized. So,
Yeah.
I get my pastor to sign it. I get Governor Branstad to sign it. It's obviously mine.
Right.
But am I just being foolish, or would that be good enough? Under no circumstances do anything to shorten my life. I want to live to be 1,000. Love, Mac.
And that's your right. If you want care beyond what someone would consider ordinary care, some people do. But be aware that at some point, for instance, let's say that your system is truly shutting down, and in the Informed publication, it gives you some information on what to look for that will tell you you're truly shutting down as opposed to somebody telling you you're dying. So let's say you are. In that case, food and water is going to be burdensome to you because you can't assimilate it, and that's going to be painful for you. So be careful in saying, I want everything done no matter what the situation is, because you don't know we're all going to die.
Yeah, that's true. I don't want to sit someplace and I don't want to be a burden to my family.
Not a burden.
Yeah.
The burden is a dangerous thing because, believe me, when I raised teenagers, they probably thought I was a burden.
Yeah.
That was my goal, to be a burden to them.
Well, and I also don't want...
what I'm saying? It's all a matter of what's truly a burden.
And I also don't want my family to invest any dollars in me that are not going to pay off in a successful recovery. I mean, I've seen families go bankrupt because of their medical bills. That's horrendous. You work your whole life, and to stay alive, you have to give up everything you've got.
Yes, and lose everything with the idea that you might live another week. No, we're not suggesting people do that.
Well, and I'm lucky. You both know my wife. Because of what happened to her mother, I feel pretty safe that when I go into the hospital and whatever treatment I need, you're going to have to go through Mrs. Mack. And that's like going through a general.
That's good. She's a good agent.
She is.
Yes.
She is. Unless she decides she doesn't want me anymore. And then I'm in trouble. If those interns are cuter than I am, which they probably will be when I get that age.
I was just going to say, how well are you treating Mrs. Mack?
Yeah, right. There you go. There you go. All right.
You might want to stop for candy on the way home.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got her. You know what I did, Joe? They got the ugly Christmas sweater store open in the mall here, and I bought her 2 sweaters. Put them on the bed last night, and she said it's the best laugh she's had all year, which means a lot coming from what she's had.
Yes.
But she said she probably wouldn't wear them. Frank was with me. She's not going to wear the big reindeer.
Oh, okay.
That was so cute.
Good thing you got a receipt on that.
I did, and she also told me not to buy any more, which you know that I was going to buy hundreds. All right, so Joe and Mary, each of you together, we've got about 4 minutes, 3.5 minutes. Give us some websites. Very slowly, give people some things they can write down to get more information from you and your organizations.
Okay.
Mary, you want to go ahead?
Sure, I will. I work in conjunction with Human Life Alliance also. So I recommend them, and it's www.humanlife.org. And you can go on their website and look at the different supplements that they have that is so educational for you. And specifically for the end of life is the imposed death. And then Joe mentioned the Informed is also something else that talks about end of life and hospice. What kind of questions should you be asking for hospice? So, and we also talk about brain death, which ties in with organ donations. So those I would like to recommend, and I would also like to recommend if anybody has problems or questions to call Human Life Alliance or call Iowa Right to Life, and if we don't have the answer, we will definitely find somebody who will.
Now, I don't want to get too far into this, but you just said something. CJ has also taken off of all of the organ donor lists.
Mm-hmm.
That you don't want to be an organ donor because they will sometimes end your life because they need that organ alive, and they can't take it from you as long as you're alive.
You want an organ donor card that you carry with you that says refusal to be an organ donor. Now, that does not mean that you can't be an organ donor when you're truly dead. It just means that they are not to kill you for your organs.
Right.
That just amazes me that they would say, this man's got a healthy liver. We've got somebody in Baltimore that needs one, so let's end his life so we can salvage his liver.
If that's on your driver's license, get it off now.
Right. I recommend that too.
And we can send you the cards if you want them, but get it off of your driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be in an accident and have them treat you to preserve your organs and not your injuries.
Wow. That's just crazy. It's so opposite of what, we've thought.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all thanks to politics, right? It's just money, greed, insurance.
Yeah.
Cost containment.
All right. Joe, I look forward to meeting you. I know you're going to spend part of the weekend with my wife. God bless you, and thank you for the time you're going to invest. Mary, thank you for being here. You're both invited back again. I'm sure we're going to do this again.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Yes,
I hope you'll come back over and over and over. Now, this podcast will be available for you at no charge, anybody listening or you, Mary and Joe, that you can use and spread out all over the country. You can edit out the Frank parts, and then you can just send it all over the country, and it's yours to use. God bless you both. Joe, thank you very much. I look forward to meeting you face-to-face. Mary, thanks for being here.
Thanks for this
God bless.
opportunity. Yeah,
all right.
God bless you.
All right, now, remember what I ask you at the end of every show. Maybe today, after hearing what you've heard today, you'll take it seriously. Would you please think of somebody you need to forgive because you've been hauling that anvil around for years? So today, forgive them, because as you forgive, you shall be forgiven. I'll see you in church.